Hello, I am Amy Kelly and it is Jack-o'-lantern season. I am going to show you some amazing little tricks to get incredible results out of your pumpkins. You don't need any specialist tools, just some normal kitchen knives and a little bit of patience, and my little hints are going to give you the best jack-o'-lanterns on the street. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe because I've got loads more to show you. I'm going to show you a really basic, simple version that you can do with kids, a way to sort of spook it up and make it a little bit scarier if you've got older kids, and then I'm going to show you some really clever techniques to make your pumpkins look like they've been done by a professional, but you don't need any special tools, you don't need anything that you won't already have in your kitchen drawers. So please make sure that you watch through to the end because you won't want to miss any of these. Oh, at the end, I'm going to show you what to do with all the stuff that you scoop out from inside the pumpkin, because you can make fabulous little Halloween snacks with that. I'm going to show you lots of different pumpkin designs that you can create really quickly and simply that have a fantastic impact. You are going to have the best, scariest, coolest pumpkins on the street. Is cool still a thing? Do people still say cool? Well, anyway, they're going to look awesome. You will need one or more pumpkins. Now you can absolutely grow pumpkins yourself. They take a little bit of space and they like plenty of water and nutrients, but there are several varieties like jack-o'-lantern which have been specifically bred to give you gorgeous, beautiful, perfect for making a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. These are not expensive to buy from the shops, so if you haven't got space or time to grow any for yourself, it is not difficult to get yourself some. The pumpkin that you get is sort of going to determine what kind of design you can put on it. A cute little small one like this is not going to give you as many options as a bigger pumpkin, but you can still create something amazing with small pumpkins like this clever little display. Before you can start designing your jack-o'-lantern, we first need to get our pumpkin ready. So step one is to cut a hole in the top so that you can pull all the middle of the pumpkin out. Now, it is important that that hole is big enough for your hand to fit inside it, and it's really important that when you cut it at an angle so that when you put the lid back on your pumpkin, it won't just fall through. So when you put your knife into the pumpkin to cut it, you want it to be pointing into the middle of the pumpkin at an angle the whole way as you cut around. The best knife to use for this is a thin bladed serrated knife. I've seen professional pumpkin carvers who actually use drywall saws for this step. If you're doing this with really small kids, make sure you keep them supervised because you do need to use some sharp knives and that can be a little bit dangerous. Some people find the sap or juice from pumpkins irritating, so you might want to wear some gloves. Again, be really careful. You're going to hold your knife at an angle into the pumpkin and then cut it all the way around. So we have cut the lid off of our pumpkin. We've got our perfectly shaped little core. Now we need to scoop out everything that's inside the pumpkin. So we'll just cut that off there. And keep the seeds separate here. So you can save these seeds and use them to grow your own pumpkin next year, or they are edible and they make a lovely high fiber snack. Once you've got the easy stuff out of your pumpkin, now it's time to go in with your spoon. You're just going to scrape around the edges of the pumpkin, taking out as much of that delicious flesh as you can while keeping the structure of the pumpkin intact. Now you're ready to start designing your pumpkin. You'll need a non-permanent marker pen in a colour similar to the pumpkin. Because the pumpkin skin is really waxy, any mark that you make on it can be cleaned off very easily. You'll need some small, sharp, preferably thin-bladed knives. Decide which side of your pumpkin you're going to carve and then start drawing on your design. This is the most basic jack-o'-lantern design. Because the shapes are basically triangles and straight lines, all you have to do is poke your knife in and that will create the shape. So that's our little guy finished, and this is what he looks like going from day to night. Now this is perfect if you've got really young kids, easy to carve, not too scary. But if you have got slightly older children, they are going to want something a little bit spookier. So how do we create a spooky face? Really simple. You start with the eyes. So a round eye, not very scary at all. But if you cut the eye off at the top, all of a sudden you have got crazy spooky face. Let me show you how that works. So if we start with drawing the eyes, if you think like two angry eyebrows, immediately you've got that perception of a grumpy, angry, not to be messed with face. It doesn't matter if they're not perfectly symmetrical, this is supposed to be creepy and Halloween-y anyway. Now let's kick that up a notch. You can add yourself some spooky little eyebrows, or a scar running through the eyes. Nose is the next thing. Triangle nose, no good. We are going to just do two little nostrils, and then it is all about the mouth. So this is where you can get really creative. You can do creepy clown, you can do Dracula fangs. I like to go for teeth, teeth, and more teeth. So this is really easy. So you start by creating one row, either the top or the bottom is up to you. And then you just need to do the opposite row into that same negative space. And you have got a mouth of crazy, scary teeth. Now, as an option, you can actually have the teeth joined together, like in this jack-o'-lantern that I did a couple of years ago. But I think we are going to go shark's teeth today. So let me show you how that is going to look on our jack-o'-lantern. When you're carving your pumpkins, if you've got any fine lines that you need to carve, any delicate little details, it's a good idea just to use a sharp knife to cut through the skin of the pumpkin first, and that will act as a guide for when you want to go and cut through all of the flesh, and it'll just give you a much smoother, more reliable result. If you've got larger segments of pumpkin that you need to cut out, or irregular shapes, it can be really helpful to cut those into smaller areas. And this is our finished jack-o'-lantern. Now this guy's great because he looks quite good and scary in the daytime as well. And this is what he looks like as the night creeps in. There is no rule that says that jack-o'-lanterns have to be a face. You can create absolutely any shape that you would like on them. Rats and bats are favorites for me. This year I'm definitely doing a rat, but we're also going to do a cool tarantula spider. Now this one is a bit fiddly, so you're going to want a bit of patience and a good sharp knife that's going to cut through the pumpkin nice and cleanly for you. Although this looks really quite complicated, these are mostly straight lines. So actually it's easier than it looks, and it is so impressive when it's lit up at night. Take a look at this. If you've mastered those designs, let's kick it up another notch. We are going to do a cutout design. Now this is more complicated and it's a little bit more time consuming, but the effect is incredible. So what we are going to do is, instead of cutting out the rat, so the rat is the hollow, we're going to cut out a shape around the rat and the rat will be left in solid pumpkin. So take your time sketching out this design. The important thing here is that there are connection points. So this rat is going to be connected at his feet, at his nose and at his tail. There's a lot of small, complicated lines here, so I'm tracing it with my knife first and then I'm going to cut through to the layer underneath. If there are any really thick layers of pumpkin, it's worth going in and shaving those a little bit at the back just to keep your design lovely and crisp. This is our finished rat, and this is what it looks like at night. If you thought that looked easy, I have got another level for you to go to. So this is back carving. The way that you do this is by taking off the skin and enough of the flesh of the pumpkin that the light will shine through, but not so much of the flesh of the pumpkin that you make an actual hole, and that is where the skill comes in. We're going to use that same technique of carefully using a sharp knife, tracing all around the edge of the design. Once that's done, you're going to want to swap to a short, very thin bladed knife, and you're going to run this under the surface of the pumpkin skin. You can get special tools to do this. Professional pumpkin carvers often use a sharp little loop of metal to actually shave the skin off, but you probably aren't going to have one of those in your kitchen drawer, and you can absolutely do this just with a normal knife. I have done all this carving just with ordinary kitchen knives. And this is the finished result. And this is the amazing effect that you get at night. I've got one pumpkin left and one final level of difficulty. We are doing detailed back carving. So start by hollowing out the inside of your pumpkin and take off as much of the flesh as you can. You only need a really thin layer for this one. You are going to need a toothpick, preferably a metal cocktail stick, and a knife with a really good sharp point. Once your pumpkin is all hollowed out and ready to go, make your design using that washable marker pen. Now you're going to trace the outside of your design. You can do this either with the pick or with the knife. Once you've traced the outline, trace a second outline just a couple of millimeters farther out from your original line, so you're making a border the whole way around your design. Then use your pick or your toothpick to dig out that thin line, and that is going to create your outline. The light is going to shine through that. Now you can take your pick and you can start adding in the detail. Then just settle in and finish your whole design. And that is our finished product. It looks okay now, but wait until you see this with the lights off. How ridiculously impressive is that? Once you've finished making your amazing pumpkins, you're going to be left with lots of seeds and lots of beautiful pumpkin flesh. Please don't throw this away. There is so much that you can do with it. The seeds, if you just rinse off any of the flesh that's stuck to them, pat them dry, toss them with a little bit of olive or vegetable oil and stick them in the oven at 180 degrees C or 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about gas 6, for about 10 minutes. These will toast up beautifully. You can either just toss them with a little bit of salt, or I like to pour a little bit of Worcestershire sauce or soy sauce or even Tabasco over them, stir that through and pop them back in the oven for another 5 minutes. And this gives them a fantastic savory coating. And then they're like bar nuts. They almost have a texture like popcorn, but they're delicious. They're a wonderful high fiber, healthy snack, but they're just really tasty, so don't waste those. You'll have all of the flesh that you scooped out left over as well. Now, Halloween pumpkins aren't always chosen for their delicious flavor, but they do still have a nice pumpkin-y taste, and it would be a shame to waste that lovely food. So if you cook up that flesh, you can use it to make lovely pumpkin pies, or you can mix it through with pasta, or my personal favorite, Halloween pumpkin chili. Once you have mastered these techniques, you can create any sort of design that takes your fancy and just have the most impressive pumpkins every Halloween. So whatever your thing is, I hope that you get carving. Please send me photos of anything that you do. I would absolutely love to see it. And I hope you all have an amazing Halloween. I'll look forward to seeing you next week, and happy pumpkin carving.